And APB, American Protection Bureau, voted #1 best on Long Island for all your security needs. Call 631-390-9050. That's 631-390-9050. APB.
You need a body shop? You need engine repair? Auto Excellence, Collision Specialists, 631-261-6420. That's 631-261-6420. Auto Excellence. Jimmy, I gotta take a dump.
What?
No, I mean I need a dumpster.
Well, for all those needs, you need to call Big V Dumpster Rental, Long Island, New York, 631-900-DUMP. Elm Logistics, for all your logistic needs, call 631-299-3595. That's 631-299-3595. Elm Global Logistics, pride, performance, and partnerships. The Monty and the Pharaoh Show is brought to you by...
Because wine is your second favorite four-letter word. California wine, New York attitude. Good fucking wine.
Yeah.
Tired of that same old breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Same old tasting scrambled eggs, burger, that dinner steak, ribs, or pork chops. Why not add a little bit of spice or just a touch of heat to make the difference? Change that scrambled egg with a little bit of Johnny Fabulous's John Cena Sr.'s $1 Million Jalapeno Hot Sauce. Great on burgers, steaks, chops, and those barbecued ribs.
And Nitro's Garage for all your automotive needs. Call 646-675-2349. That's 646-675-2349. For all your automotive needs, Nitro's Garage. Ask for Jack.
Do you treat your dog as part of the family? Well, so do we. So why not celebrate your pup's birthday with the ultimate party box? Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Party Pup Info, and let us make your pup's party or any celebration perfection.
M&J Video Games and Collectibles. Sport and non-sport cards, wrestling items, autographed items. We buy, sell, and trade. M&J Video Games and Collectibles, located at 1049 Queen Street, Southington, Connecticut. Call us at 1-860-479-9223 or 860-93-GAMES. M&J Video Games and Collectibles.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Wrestling Remembered. I'm your host, Joe What a Day Lowry. Thank you, everybody, for spending their Friday night with us. And of course, we all know this is a show that takes you back to the best age of pro wrestling, I would say. And joining me is my esteemed panelists, as you will. First up, we got the president, El Presidente of Thursday Night, Phil DeCesare. Welcome.
Don't forget one descriptor, Joe. There's
What's
an
that?
important one.
Yeah.
As of this Thursday night, what?
You are the champione. La champion. That's right. You captured the title. It might have been a controversy finish, but hey, that's not me to tell. And that's a good segue in here. We can go right now to the other referee of the 30.
What's going on, guys? What's going on? So, Phil, you're the president of Thursday nights. Does that mean you don't have as much authority tonight?
Ooh. I think I still have some diplomatic immunity, Bruce.
I got to watch what I say. I don't want points deducted after or before the show, so we got to be careful.
Right, you guys are always on the clock.
There you go. There you go. And finally, we have the Thursday Night Delight, who always joins us on Friday night. He's my brother from another mother, and he's got, 22, 23-inch pythons? He's the player, Benny Scala.
Straight out of Playville. Glad to be here.
Straight out of Playville. Always Beth, Maria, Baby Cakes, everybody in the chat tonight. Thank you for tuning in, spending your Friday night with us here as we talk tag teams and turncoats. We originally were going to talk about tag teams, but then I got to thinking, well, with tag teams, they've always turned on each other. It was always, when things were going great, tag team championships they received, they won them and so forth. And what happens? Oh, well, jealousy, all that stuff kicks in. Phil, what is your favorite memory of tag teams turning and all that good stuff?
It depends on the era. There are so many classic ones, and I don't want to steal anyone's thunder, so I'm going to go with one. Yeah. As much as I thought that I liked Peter Maivia and Bob Backlund and that, and Maivia was kind of a serial turner in his own right. In fact, we've noticed a couple of the wrestlers over the years tended to be like this, kind of back and forth. We talk about the Big Show being one of them. Paul Orndorff certainly too. But I was actually at one event live. It was Slamboree, 1998, hailing from Worcester, Massachusetts.
Worcester.
Yep, from the then Centrum.
Nobody can spell that either, by the way.
What's that?
Nobody knows how to spell Worcester.
That's okay. No, not even the inhabitants. I know that. It was also the night Eric Bischoff challenged. Bischoff challenged McMahon to drive down and confront him, challenged him to the fight. But it was also a night when Kevin Nash and Scott Hall faced off against the then Giant and Sting.
Yeah.
And what was notable, towards the end of the match, Nash had the power bomb set to go.
Sure.
And on Sting, of course. And we know what happened when he tried it on the Big Show before. Sure. And Scott Hall walloped him from behind and laid the beat down. And ultimately, they were defeated. And it was kind of a watershed moment. It was the first time in WCW where they became enemies. So I was there that night. It was also marked the return of Scott Hall after many months in rehab. And I have a sign. I actually got on video. And on the video, I have a sign that says "Welcome back, Hall." And before the match, Hall grabbed the microphone. He said, "Hey yo," and the fans, all 15,000, responded, "Hey yo," in return immediately. Wow. And he says, "Yeah, we missed you too." And then the camera pans the audience. I'm wearing this very shirt. That tells you. The shirt is older than a lot of people, and I had my sign up. And for me, that was a memorable turn. It really was. It really signified the disbanding of something, of a partnership, of a coupling, of an organization that really, and I'm sure we'll discuss, changed professional wrestling as we know it. On Mondays and beyond. So, for my money, that was a great experience.
That's a good one. We should have told me. I would have got a graphic for that one.
It came to me late, like so many things do, Joe.
Right. We always think last minute stuff. When
we're
moving on, the player Thursday Night Delight. What do you got? What do you think?
I guess the most special one to me was really the first one I ever saw. The first heel turn I ever saw happened in a tag team, and it was the team of Handsome. No, I think at that time it was Gentleman. Jimmy Valiant and Chief J Strongbow. I think they were fighting Luke Graham and Tarzan Tyler. Oh wow! And that is when Jimmy Valiant did his heel turn. Yeah. And I mean, I was 15, and I cursed a blue streak. And fortunately, my mom for once wasn't in the kitchen to hear me, so I got away with it. But I mentioned that because it seems like Chief J Strongbow was the recipient of many heel turns. So just we got Peter Maivia, as Phil said, but also
I got that
Spiros Arion.
Got that one right there.
Was another one who
Look
turned.
At that.
He became a heel after he turned on Strongbow, and
I totally forgot about because this is pre my era, or not really. It was before I started watching wrestling. But Peter Maivia and Bob Backlund had some a steel cage match. I never knew that till I read the old wrestling magazines. And I was like, wow, I didn't know that they had a big feud. I mean, this is the bloodline right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Peter Maivia and turning on Chief Jay. You see it over there at the bottom left side. That was pretty graphic. But they look like they were a special tag team, the High Chief and Chief Jay. Looks like they got along pretty good.
Chiefs,
Until the big heel turn. But yeah, what else you got to play? Anything else? You were mentioning something else.
No, I mean, well, as far as tag teams, but I mean, my very favorite, or not favorite, but the most impactful heel turn in the history of my life was when Larry Zbyszko turned on my hero Bruno.
Yeah,
and
right there.
It's so funny. I mean, it was so perfectly orchestrated, but still, you did not. They worked that exhibition. I still didn't expect to see what I saw. And when Larry kneed Bruno in the solar plexus and then came back in with the chair, and as great of a wrestler as Bruno was, that's how bad of a blader he was. I mean, that was a mess. That was a crime scene.
Yeah,
it looked like a homicide in that ring. Bruno was bleeding buckets.
The wooden chair is, there's no. What's the word? You're getting hit with it. You can't really deny that.
Oh yeah, you can't fake that. But
and Dr. George Sahardian in the background there, he's all
he's getting ready to go to work.
He's all upset. He knows what's coming.
Yeah, he's got to work. He's got to stitch up Bruno after this. But I mean, Larry was. I mean, he was a good wrestler. He was a solid mid-carder. He was a good tag team wrestler. But I mean, this shot him right to the moon for years after that.
All right, let's move it on. Let's go to ESO, the referee of the 30. Yeah, what do you got for tag teams, turncoats?
All right,
I know you got a favorite one. I know you got a favorite.
Live for. I was about 10 years old, and Paul Orndorff turning on Hulk Hogan. And this was such a legendary feud. I mean, this was the end of the small arenas, and this was pretty much the last of it. And fortunately, I was there, and I saw this happen. And after that, they went to the bigger. They had switched over to Wrestling Challenge and Wrestling Superstars, and went to bigger arenas. And never did we see these in my area ever again. Yeah, if you look there, there's a picture of me, 10 years old, with Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff. I was right at aisle side watching them come in, and what a cool experience that was. But what a shocking night when after watching the flower shop with Paul Orndorff and Hulk Hogan that night, and then them fighting the Moondogs, and then it culminating with all of a sudden Paul Orndorff is raising Hogan's hand and then clotheslines him, and next thing you know, pile driver, and they go to the back and wonderful. What
and who did a better pile driver than Paul Orndorff?
Oh, he was a master technician. I love Paul Orndorff.
He spiked people, didn't he?
Yeah, I was a favorite of Orndorff.
Again, that's one of my favorite cage matches just because of that angle. That where culminated that simultaneous.
You were there. That's awesome. You were there. So that's just like Phil. He was there. I wish I was there for some of these turns. Getting back to Hogan and Orndorff, when they were a tag team, even though it was a limited time, it was weird to me why Hogan was tagging with Orndorff to begin with, because this is right in the middle of Hogan's run, Hulkamania and all that stuff. I never understood why they put him as a tag team. It was a great tag team. Don't get me wrong. Hogan, Orndorff, two of the biggest superstars. And I was like, why are they putting them together? But now we know it's to set up the feud. And this was, what was it? This was like 84, 85. This was before.
It was 86. It was just after coming out of WrestleMania 2.
Yeah.
And then leading up, it was pretty much the setup to go into the WrestleMania 3 stuff.
So I got to ask you.
After that, that's what happened.
How'd you get that seat there in the front? How'd you get that seat?
My father was also a wrestling fan, so fortunately, we always got pretty good seats. I got ringside a bunch of times there, and this was one of the coolest ones though, because
where was this at?
Night. The whole night is legendary, but the reality is that whole angle happened in one night from start to finish. And over the course, when it happened on TV, it was I think 5 or 6 weeks.
Where was it at though? Where did you?
It was the Poughkeepsie Civic Center in.
It was still the Civic Center
in Poughkeepsie.
Yeah, because you could tell the crowd's a little smaller than the arenas and all that stuff. So, yeah, just wondering why Hogan and Orndorff tagged together. It was just a weird thing, going to my shocking heel turn. I was a new fan in 81. I was getting into it, like really into it. I'm talking, I had pictures all over my wall. A buddy of mine, Mike, who I used to go to wrestling with all the time, he showed me a way to put the pictures all together. And it was like almost like a wallpaper scene. You know what I mean? I had everything from the Von Erichs to Big John Studd to Andre to Snooker to Backlund.
Me too.
I love the cage match pictures and all that. So I'm watching TV one morning, just, I'm following the Jimmy Snuka face turn. It was coming. I mean, I was at the Garden tons of times, him against Backlund, Snuka against Morales. He was always cheered in Boston. They loved him. And I'm going, something's wrong here. They're cheering the bad guy, before it was the cool thing to do. And I had a feeling something was coming. And, it did. It happened. They brought in Buddy Rogers. Ray Stevens was a guest. Lou Albano. There was some financial dishonesty on Captain Lou Albano's behalf. And then you had the big turn. You had it right here. Buddy Rogers' corner. And then, the attack with Snooker and the pile driver on the blood. The bloody cement was so graphic. I'm shocked they didn't have the sensor. The heel turn was so bad. If you watch the video, the lady comes out of the side of the ring and throws something on Ray Stevens. She was immediately looked at. I think it might have been a kid. But the crowd would, the only a piece of rope was holding the crowd back from this scene. Yeah. And they didn't realize that the crowd was going to go nuts when, Snooker busted open, all that stuff. I was shocked. I must have watched that replay, WOR, all that, over and over again. And I was sitting there going, oh, my freaking God, Snooker's going to be a good guy now. Who's he going to fight? Of course, Morocco comes along and does his thing. But one of the things I remember, I wasn't there, but I was collecting the wrestling magazines, and I found out that Captain Lou took care of business with Snooker took care of business, and they had a match at Madison Square Garden where Albano just took a vicious beating from the Superfly, blade job galore. You can see the pictures here. He was cut bad. This picture up in the upper right is, some of the pictures I had in the scrapbook. I was so in love with the Snooker Albano connection. They just seemed to match, especially when Snooker was a bad guy. He would come out and eat Gary Michael Capetta's boutonniere all the time. Capetta would run away. It was just like I remember his first match, and it was like, oh my God, who is this guy? Pat Patterson knew, obviously. And of course, reading the wrestling magazines, you find out that Snooker and Stevens were a tag team in the NWA. They were champs. Buddy Rogers was mixed in there somewhere. It's like they took that act and moved it over to the WWF. And back then, no internet, all that stuff. So you're like, holy cow, what's going on here? That was my first encounter of a major heel turn. Benny, similar to yours, you see it for the first time. On the Snooker one, you kind of knew it was going to happen, but you didn't realize the severity of the beatdown because he was out for weeks to heal up. But you guys remember that at all?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, who can forget when I just remember like it was yesterday. Yeah. Buddy saying, Jimmy, you have no money. And then Jimmy, Buddy, will you be my manager? And like we said before the show, they hugged and squished the mic so you couldn't really hear anything after that.
It was an emotional moment for any young kid to even be watching. Absolutely. Yep. And the thing about Snuka, I've read before and I've seen history kind of bear it out that when he was a heel, he was wearing heels. In other words, he had his boots on. That tended to be something he did when he was a heel. Yeah. And when he turned face, he went without the boots. So he certainly did that in WWF, but I guess throughout the career, he's done that before too. Yeah. Kind of a little sign. I understand that even the Iron Sheik, if I can sidetrack, did the same thing. Really? I think, if he wore the long tights, I think he was going to win. And if he wore the short tights, he was going to lose or something like that. So sometimes they send these little signals. But with Snuka, I know with the boots and the bare feet often coincided whether he was a face or a heel. Yeah.
So that was a little before your time, right?
Yeah, a little before my time. But, of course, I have gone back and watched a lot of those matches. Yeah. But one thing that I always heard is Jimmy Snuka was so popular after that turn that he didn't need a belt. He was as over as anyone else in the WWE or at that time.
I think that's actually why they turned him, because I, for one, thought for sure in my, my small age and all that, being green to the sport, I really thought that Superfly Snooker was going to win the title. Everybody believed it, but when you see the finishes and all that, you're so, he gets in the cage, he jumps, he misses, Backlund still wins. It's almost like, David and Goliath, so to speak, because if you compare Backlund to Snooker, Snooker was just bigger, stronger. Backlund was more athletic, don't get me wrong, but Snooker was that wrestler that once he got you, it was over, So, I mean, that was a huge one right there. Now, moving on, we had one that shocked me. You guys might remember Strike Force right here. Yeah. Rick Martel, Tito Santana. This one is kind of weird because this is after Martel was AWA champion and he came back. What are your thoughts on that, guys?
Oh God.
What's that?
I tell you what,
I was.
What's that, Bruce?
The atomizer, Bruce. The atomizer.
The atomizer, yeah.
Thing.
Arrogance.
Arrogance, indeed.
Yeah.
The atomizer.
I was shocked because I thought to myself, there is no way that Rick Martel could ever be a good heel. Boy, did he prove me wrong. That was he did. That was great as the model.
Yeah, the model. That was
at that point,
gorgeous George of the 90s. Yeah,
I didn't know at that point he had been a former AWA champion. I was still. This was, I believe, 87.
Okay.
So I was still relatively young, just hadn't gotten exposed to it. But it's amazing. He was quite a performer. He never got his due in the WWF. Well, later in his career, but in the I guess in the earlier part of his career, he was a WWE tag champion with somebody else too, wasn't he?
Tony Gurria and Rick Martel. Who
yes, he was.
Real quickly, not to switch topics, I do want to get to some people in the chat. There's still no Hall of Fame. Nobody knows who's going in the Hall of Fame yet. This is
and why aren't those guys in the Hall of Fame? The two
nothing
guys
has been said. I don't know if this is even going to happen, or if it does, it's going to be really under the rug because we all know it's Vince McMahon's baby. Even though WrestleMania is really Vince McMahon's doing, but nothing for the Hall of Fame, and we're under 50 days, I think.
Yeah,
we're somewhere on that 49. I mean, what are we going to do? We're weeks away from Mania. Still, not even a rumor or anything about who's going in the Hall of Fame. You guys have a quick thought on that?
Well, quickly to Martel, I think one thing that's germane to this is that he's really distanced himself from the business over the past several years.
Oh,
so
He wants
maybe no one's, maybe no one's tried to reach out, or maybe people realize that's the case. They don't want to try to reach out to him.
Tony Gurria is back on the podcast circuit making the rounds.
Okay.
He was just on a podcast, Stewie's podcast, wrestling podcast over in Wales. I mean, Gurria's still residing in Florida now.
Yeah.
So he did a podcast, and I even asked him a question when he was on the podcast too. He got in there for me, and I asked him straight out, "What's up with the Hall of Fame?" And he flat out says does not know why. He's more than eligible. Martel is more than eligible compared to what's out there. Player, you know that, right?
Yeah, I mean, and no controversy. I mean, I've never heard of any shred of controversy with either of these guys. Gurria, who's a better tag team wrestler than Gurria in the 70s and 80s? He's what, 5-time champion with how many different partners?
Oh yeah.
Oh, definitely.
He could wrestle with anybody.
Yeah,
and he wasn't a bad singles wrestler either. And in his heyday,
right?
Joe Will's in there. The big NWA turn of 1980. Ole Anderson turns on Dusty in the steel cage at the Omni as they were climbing the cage. That's a big
wow, yeah,
that's a good one. Maria Davis, Sasha Banks, Bailey, of course. Then we got the greatest CWF when the American Dream, another Dusty Road, is born. Paxson.
Oh yes,
turns on Dusty Rhodes. His partner was under Playboy Gary Hart.
Yeah,
and of course Joe Will again. Actually, Nikita and Ivan Koloff. Maria chimed in on that one. Thank you. Joe Will. Road Warriors turn on Sting to give him the torture rack. Jim Ross says, "My God, they broke his neck." That's a great one. Joe Will, you're awesome with this stuff. Joe Will, superstar snooker wore boots in Georgia Championship Wrestling.
When he was with Gordy. Yep, exactly.
Joe Will again, GCW, and his team with Bam Bam Gordy. Maria Davis says Rick Martel is very handsome. Ooh la la. He played. Let me see.
He was a model after all.
Right, exactly.
You see, Benny Scala, Matthew, my oldest son's birthday is March 18th, also named Matthew. What's that all about?
Yeah, well, Matthew Holland was saying he shared the same birthday as Rick Martell, which was March 18th. And I said, my oldest son, who also is named Matthew, is March 18th as well.
Yep. Maria Davis, Rick Martell is selling real estate. Who knew?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. Another one, obviously a big one to me, a big one, probably the ESO, the player, Phil DeCesare. Kind of never saw this coming, but, money is money for Vince McMahon. Hogan Andre. That is huge.
WrestleMania 3.
Huge. Yeah. Andre the Giant turning back. Weeks before, he's given Hulk Hogan a trophy and all that stuff. The jealousy starts. Heenan intervenes. And all this really takes place on Piper's Pit. Every week, Piper's Pit was must-watch TV. And of course, the ripping of the necklace, the blood, and finally Hogan says yes. That yes was so profound when, Roddy Piper's, will you or will you not fight Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant? He goes, yes. And of course, that leads to WrestleMania 3, 90+ thousand. What do you think about that? The heel turn on Andre. Anybody see that coming?
Yes. I mean, it was obvious. It was slowly brewing because when Hogan got that trophy and then Andre got the smaller trophy and Hogan came out to steal the limelight and Andre walked away, I thought something's happening here. Right. And then, I mean, how emotional was it? I mean, I was in my early 30s when Andre walked out with Bobby Heenan on Piper's Pit, and it's like, holy crap. Yeah. You just didn't expect that. And, but the one thing about that, so Andre's not turning heel, but what really surprised me was the, Piper kind of simultaneously turning babyface and helping Hogan, who had been his arch nemesis.
Yeah. You're bleeding, man.
Bleeding, man.
Yeah, right. Roddy Piper. That was a really good moment there when he said that. That's ESO. You remember that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was glued to the TV at that point.
You weren't there? You weren't there? They still weren't in Poughkeepsie then?
This is right after they switched over to the big arenas. If you notice, at that time, they they were a lot bigger. Instead of 2,000 to 4,000, they were up to 13,000, 15,000 people in those events. So unfortunately, didn't get to see those ones. Had to watch those on TV. But
that's
probably the end of my being a fan of faces. And soon after that, I became a fan of the heels. It just was that era.
Because I think the heels were more charismatic. That's why.
Yeah, absolutely.
They had that act.
The Heenan family was too cool. So.
Oh God, yeah. Andre, Big John Studd, right? You're talking Studd.
Well, the Studd left soon after. Don't forget there was the room for the two giants there.
Right. That leads me to believe. So you brought up a good point. When they moved to the big arenas for TV, did you guys like that at all? I got that. To me, growing up, wrestling almost was like personal. You had the little arena.
I loved it I loved it in Agricultural Hall in the Aggie Hall in Pennsylvania in Allentown. That was one of my favorite venues. That obviously Techwood Drive, the Georgia studio, another one, and of course. In Texas, of course, we had the Sportatorium.
That wasn't that huge. That was,
right? Yeah,
it
was subterranean actually too. It was actually
had a teeny studio, and they got a lot done.
Yeah. Watching the clips of Andre and Hogan, you could tell they were in that big arena, and the echoing. It just didn't seem personal. They had to make it personal with the camera angles. That's what it was.
Yeah.
As a kid, I never even thought of that, but I was so enamored at that point because the production value got so much better when it came to the TV show. You had at that point, that's when the Snake Pit came out, and soon after that, the Barbershop. But just in general, the way the productions were, they were a lot more fluid at that point. Whereas now I look back, I miss it because for the previous 5 years, I was getting to see amazing shows in this little rinky-dink arena in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Yeah, and I have a feeling when Vince went to that big arena type thing, the major arenas, it was basically money. He's putting butts in seats, he's putting more butts in seats, and he's having a television program at the same time.
Yeah, he was also still touring all those little small towns, but instead of getting 10 matches, 15 matches, we'd have this small rinky-dink card with just above Jobber facing a great wrestler, and then you'd end up with a main event, which would be
S.T. Jones versus Johnny Rods.
Billy Jack Haynes.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Phil, what were you going to say?
I was going to say it was such different times too, and I remember in the mid to late '80s
Yeah.
going, particularly to some Worcester tapings
Sure.
where they would do 3 weeks worth of programming in one night.
Yeah.
And at the end of the night, what I marveled at is compared to now, I don't want to say security was lax, but I was able to walk over, step over a railing, and go up to Vince and Bruno and Jesse, and it's
right
like,
there.
amazing. And I was able to do that, and it was nothing like today. You couldn't even think of doing that.
That's how the
today.
era was back then.
Yeah.
You walk right up. I mean, there was no. The old Boston Garden was like that. I mean, it was so intimate that even during other sporting events like hockey, they had to put a net over.
Yes, the old net because of all the bottles and everything.
That was the Chris Nyland net, they call it, because he would fight every night. The guy's from Massachusetts, Charlestown, Mass. He's playing for the enemy, and he's beating the shit out of these guys because he's the enforcer. And, a few times I went to every single Montreal Bruins game from from 85 to 87. And, Jay Miller days, all that stuff. They would fight.
Jay Miller, yeah.
They would fight in pre-warm-ups. But when Nyland would get ejected or go in the locker room, they were literally throwing whatever they could at him.
Yeah.
And he complained and all that. So they made that net. They called it the Nyland net.
Yeah.
And they made use of it too, not just for Chris Nyland, but for everybody else. Things are different now. They don't sell cans or bottles or anything like that. Everything's paper or plastic. But yeah, that was a big one, But just to back to the big arena, it just wasn't intimate anymore.
Yeah.
It felt like you were watching a major event every week, and you lost the intimacy and all that. So, anyways, Maria,
that's a great point about the security, because I didn't even think about it, but they used to. I remember all the kids used to run up to the flower shop was filmed on a stage, and Piper's Pit was filmed on a stage.
Yeah,
so they would all run up to the edge. And with their autograph books, and as soon as they were done filming, everybody would sign their stuff. They got Bruno and Gorilla Monsoon wasn't really doing it. It was Alfred Hayes.
Alfred Hayes.
Vince was up there. But they would do, and then they would just. I never thought to do it. Didn't think. I wish I would have at that point, but
they were so approachable back then.
Yeah,
that's the right word, approachable. Yes.
Maria Davis, our great fan, Maria Davis. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Love you,
Maria.
Remember, there would be no Shawn Michaels if it wasn't for Marty Jannetty.
Oh, we talked about
the kick around the world. There they are, tag champs, the Rockers. They had it going on. These guys were a good, solid tag team, and obviously they, it is Shawn Michaels was the charismatic one, for the heel turn, and there's the super kick heard around the world, and of course the glass going through the glass and so forth, and that was the black leather jacket told it all, like something big was going to happen. You knew it.
Is there a problem with the Rockers? I don't think so. Remember
here we are, the birth of the Heartbreak Kid.
Yeah, and it's interesting. When they were in the AWA, I don't think that, it wasn't obvious or apparent that Shawn was Shawn as he is now, or as he came to be, without that influence and maybe that little push from management. But back then, Marty, it was equally charismatic, and many would say, and I too, at least from what I saw in those old AWA from Vegas matches, Marty was if equal, if not a little bit better at the time in ring than Shawn. I would say
totally agree with that.
Yeah, he's an incredible worker.
The Midnight Rockers were the team back then.
Absolutely.
I used to come home 4 p.m. on ESPN, turn on AWA Wrestling, and watch them against Buddy Rose and Doug Summers there.
That was in Michael Shawn Michaels' HBK autobiography back in the I think it was the 2000s that came out. They were all writing their own books back then, The Rock, Mankind, and I read every single one of them. In the book with Shawn Michaels, this was a very tough time for him. He felt like he was on the verge of getting that big break in AWA. You could tell Vern Gagne, I don't want to say holding him back. I just think that he didn't have the promoting expertise per se to, excel Shawn Michaels. You know what I mean? The heel turn in AWA, I don't think would never have happened, because I think Vern appreciated that style of tag team wrestling, and it was putting butts in seats, and he probably didn't want to mess with that at all. Because, back then the AWA was kind of folding. Those are the days that you turn on ESPN at the Las Vegas Ballroom, right? They filmed
at the showboat. Yeah, they were at the showboat,
Las Vegas, right? And
yep,
I'm like,
in Vegas.
I used to turn it on and be like, wow, they're actually in like a ballroom, filming this. So, I mean, it was a good
It was
thing.
a good vocal crowd. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, it almost looks similar to maybe the WWE back in the late 70s, early 70s, that type of crowd. But, the heel turn, Vince that's a good call. That was the birth of the Heartbreak Kid. And I think in the autobiography, it says that he was itching for that. And to calm him, he had a temper too.
Shawn Michaels never really wanted to be a tag team wrestler.
No. He said from the beginning, he had to do what he had to do to get to where he was. But, he was very hard on himself. He wanted to succeed more, be bigger, better than what was going on. And that's where the influence of his demons kicked in, to calm himself down. He had an anger problem to begin with.
Yeah.
He had problems in hotels. He had problems with hotel, He just had that. And
problems with Marines.
And to calm himself down, he had to, partake in whatever he partaked.
Self-medicate.
Self-medicate. And, during the HBK, the Heartbreak Kid, you can tell when he turned into the HBK, that was meant for him. He was the man on top and so forth.
Yeah.
And
Marty by contrast was a fun-loving, lucky, just kind of a free spirit, kind of freewheeling and dealing, just and he is today still. But he,
I have a question. I mean, I know you can't speak a lot of it on there, but I know you. We're all friends with Marty personally, and for a few weeks, none of us had heard from him and everything. But I know you had a chance to get some updates from him the other day.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can let everybody know?
From what I remember, it was a late at night he called, and he was in good spirits, and he sounded pretty good. He did. As far as spirits, we didn't delve into his physical condition at the time, but he was there and he was hanging out, and one of his ladies was in the background, and he was keeping her awake at night. She had to go to work, and here he is talking to me on the phone and yelling at her. And but he seemed in really good spirits, so I was very happy. So we had a probably nice half-hour conversation about everything. And
nice.
So he didn't say anything negative with respect to his foot. I didn't want to pry too much about it, but he seemed like he was on the mend somewhat, at least psychologically, at least spiritually. He seemed like he was on the mend. So when I hung up with him, I felt pretty good about about it too. So it was nice to hear from him.
I talked to him briefly last week too, and the culmination was I think I pissed off his agent Savage.
Oh, that's all right.
Hey, listen, I just told the truth. That was it.
It's all good. All good.
I see everybody's mentioning the David Schultz thing with today is the 39th anniversary of David Schultz and the John Stossel punch.
Did anyone watch it live? I watched it live. Yeah, I have to admit,
honestly, the David Schultz that they're talking about in the chat room is the other David Schultz, the hockey player from the Philadelphia Flyers, and we were talking about Clark Gillies, who played left wing in the Islanders during their dynasty years. And Clark Gillies was a guy that you did not mess with. And I remember when they were playing in the Stanley Cup, I think it was semifinals.
Right.
And Schultz, Schultz was a bully, and he tried to bully Clark Gillies. And Clark Gillies, he literally knocked him out cold with one punch. But he held him up, kind of like a wrestling deal. Held him up and drilled him a couple more times. And he just let him drop to the ice. It was one of the best hockey fights I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, he was quite a brawler.
Yeah.
Hey, on the topic, real quick of hockey brawlers. This week, a man who is an actor, and his name is Paul D'Amato from Worcester, Massachusetts.
Oh, D'Amato,
yes, passed away sadly at age 76.
Really,
he was known for being in a number of movies, not the least of which he played Tim Dr. Hook McCracken in, as you recall, the hockey comedy from 1977, Slapshot. And
great
what a movie. Oh, man,
great movie. And
Hanrahan, your wife's a lesbian.
But so another great brawler, at least on screen, gone at 76.
39 years ago today, this happened. John Stossel.
I saw it live. I was staying up for it beyond my bedtime, I dare say.
That was 2020. I remember that. Yeah. He got hit. He actually hit him twice.
Yes.
And then Fuji
and Fuji in the background, right?
Look at now. It's come to modern day here. Just like when you're figuring out who shot JFK was. Now we know it was the CIA, but back then they want us to believe it was John Inc. I'm sorry, the other dude there, whoever shot him there, Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're led to believe that. Now we're hearing that David Schultz was told by Vince to do that, and that he would compensate him whatever happened. And eventually, Stossel did sue the WWF back then. They settled out of court for like $400,000.
Yes, he did.
Which in that time, $400,000 was pretty. That's a lot of money.
Jack.
Oh yeah.
But didn't Schultz get fired shortly after that?
Yes.
Yeah, but I think he was fired for something else, right? There was something else. He was hired.
A confrontation with Mr. T, I think, in L.A.
Yeah,
something happened.
He was a great worker. I seen him at the Garden against Hogan, who was one of Hogan's first title defenses. I think I shared that on Facebook a few months ago on Saturday night, because Hogan won the title in January of '84. We didn't see him in February, but we saw him in March, and I think it was March 17th. He took on Dr. D, and that was a great match, even though they've worked together in the AWA for many years. But 39 years ago today, right there, boom, John Stossel gets it. Fuji in the background.
I heard around the world.
I saw Schultz live in my hometown at the town hall, no less, at a little wrestling card against Tito Santana. And the Invaders wrestled, of course. And we know what happened, with one of the Invaders there, and what went on from there. But
I saw Big John Studd had a match at the Cape Cod Coliseum. It was him and somebody else to take on the Masked Invaders, and somebody no-showed. So Big John said, I'll take them both on. And the Invaders did their thing. And I don't know what happened, but Big John Studd slammed into the table by the Masked Invaders. He came up so bloody, Big John Studd. It was uncharacteristic for him to bleed like that. Again, especially at the Cape Cod Coliseum and the Masked Invaders, So you knew maybe a little real action took place. But I had front row seats because Cape Cod Coliseum was awesome to go to in the middle of summer. They had they had bead cards like the Cape Cod Melody Tent stuff.
I remember that. And the South Shore Music Circus with the revolving stage. The Cape Cod, that was one of Vince's first arenas.
That's the one.
And up in Bangor as well. He had a few clubs, a few arenas that he ran as a way to kind of get involved in the business and see if he could cut it.
That was his birthing there, rite of passage. Because his father didn't. I don't know if his father tried. Maybe his father knew 50 years later what was going to happen. I don't know.
No, they actually lived in Cape Cod for a while. The McMahons.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Yeah.
But get back to SO. You remember this one because you told me to put it up here, and I forgot about this, to be honest with you. But it was the Stone Cold joining Vince McMahon.
Turns his back on the fans.
Yeah, black. He's got the black shorts on and the black wristbands, and he shakes his hand. And you just didn't think this was going to happen, but again, Vince McMahon running the show says, "Let's try it." What are your thoughts? Was the Stone Cold thing wearing itself out? They had to make a change.
Well, what do you think? Reality is, long range, it didn't work out because even though they wanted you to boo him, everybody was going to still cheer him. Every time he stoned somebody, they still cheered. It didn't matter at that point.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Benny, what do you think about that? Why did they turn Stone Cold?
I totally agree with Bruce. He's one of these guys. Like when they try to turn Sting heel in WCW, you just couldn't do it. He was too over.
Yeah,
and Stone Cold was never going to be a heel, no matter how hard they try to turn him.
Why do you think
he was that first cool heel? Well, actually, I think the Macho Man might have been, but.
What do you think about that? What's the mentality? Like, this is probably a question for Vince Russo because he's been back there. What's the mentality of turning somebody who's so damn popular heel? What's the psych eval with that? Like, what's the reasoning behind that? Does anybody know?
Well, it's to build up the hot baby face to the next level. When you have the hottest heel, and when you have a hot face that turns heel, they're getting the major boos in the past. Look at what happened to Andre. Andre was Public Enemy #1 when he turned on Hogan, and before that, Andre was the most beloved character in the world.
Right, but I think when Andre turned, I wasn't fully convinced it was a heel turn. I knew it was obviously for money because it was the biggest WrestleMania at the time. Filling the Pontiac Silverdome, 93,000 plus. To see to see Hogan slam Andre. I just didn't fall in line with I'm going to hate Andre the Giant type thing. I'm not going to boo him. If I was there and saw him as a heel, I wouldn't boo him. Benny, would you boo Andre if you saw him when he was a heel?
Honestly, and I thought this, okay, so he's going to turn heel and he's going to pass the torch to Hogan.
Sure.
And after that, then he's going to become a babyface again. I thought it was a very temporary thing. I was actually very shocked that he remained as a heel. I was very surprised.
Right. Yeah, I just didn't I enjoyed
he was so
it.
Beloved.
It was 87. I was 16, 17 years old, figuring out what was happening. I still love the sport because I do love the action. I do love the characters and so forth. But to see Andre turn heel, especially with his health, was obviously, we know now that he was in severe pain when he wrestled when he wrestled Hogan at the Silverdome. He had a back brace on. He could barely move. Half the match he was on the floor anyways, or on the ring. The infamous, Hogan landing on Andre, and the referee counted to 3, but he made the crowd believe it was 2. He raised up 2.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, okay, obviously passing of the torch type situation. But the body slam was coming. The slam heard around the world. Yet, it almost felt like you felt bad for Andre at that point because I grew up the Killer Khan matches, the Big John Studd matches. Andre was supposed to be larger than life, undefeated, and loved by everybody. And they did the heel turn, but I just felt bad for him because I knew right then that was the end of Andre, even though he carried on a couple more years and so forth.
Did he have surgery after that? Because he had the matches at WrestleMania 4 after that. Then he had that feud with Ultimate Warrior where he got slammed virtually every day.
Right.
And then after that was when he and Haku ended up getting the titles, and he never even came into the ring at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. Benny, what do you think of that?
Bruce just reminded me of something though. When it was so horrible in my opinion. This is Andre the Giant, the guy who was quote unquote undefeated, which really he wasn't, but he was sold as being undefeated for 15 years. Now he's dropping 30-second matches night after night to the Ultimate Warrior. I just thought it was a bad, a tarnish to his legacy.
Yeah. Joe Will chimed in and said highly racist slam of Andre was more impressive than Hogan's. What do you think of that? Do you guys remember that? I think that was before.
I agree. I did see that.
I think, in fairness, I think Andre was a little bit lighter when Harley slammed him,
or more agile to make the slam.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I think the WrestleMania 3, maybe WrestleMania 4, and I think he was just out of gas at that point. He probably was taking a lot of painkillers. I mean, he was Andre the Giant. It took.
I don't know that he did, Joe. I think the alcohol was his panacea. I think Andre abhorred drugs. He absolutely hated drugs.
Yep.
And anyone taking them. So
128 cans of Coors Light. That was his drug, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, he must have been drinking a hell of a lot because I mean, you could tell his health was deteriorating after WrestleMania 3. He got slower. He got. You could see it in his face. He looked more tired. That type of thing. I mean, I just saw a picture of him.
He didn't live much longer after that. What, 6-7
years? He went to
young.
WCW. He went to WCW, shockingly. ESO, that's your era, right? When Andre went over to WCW for
I don't remember Andre ever going over there.
It was the quick run. They had this huge pay-per-view. I want to say Bruno Sammartino.
Bruno, yes.
Yeah, it was a celebration of wrestling on TBS, you know. And
Tony Schiavone was there. They were all there. And there's a picture of Andre. He's got a cane.
Yeah.
He looks so, he wasn't going to wrestle again. But somebody said that was one of the last pictures of him because he died in 94.
93.
January of 93.
Yeah.
So that might have been 92, somewhere around there.
And he was only in his 40s. I mean, it's crazy.
46.
Yeah, he was old. He knew he was going to die. He knew he didn't have long to live.
Career. I mean,
they predicted 40 originally.
Yeah. He outdid it, the prediction. And it was shortly thereafter they found that drug that can control that. Case in point, the Big Show started taking it to slow his giantism down.
Joe, when he went to Beth Israel to have his ankle fixed, had to have his surgery,
back in
they told him then that they could do something for it, and he actually was scared that he would lose his size, all the stuff that made him unique and special. His fear was that somehow maybe his condition could be reversed. And, it was really a conflict for him. He wanted to live a normal life, be able to sit in a movie theater and do all that and have no one stare at him. Yet he loved the life he was living because he was so unique, Yeah, but I think he had the option back in 81. And, of course, like you say, the drugs did advance and maybe there could have been other ways. But, sad.
It was an acromegalia.
Acromegalia.
John Will chimed in with that. So far, That I mean, to me, I think he knew his life was short, so obviously he lived like every day was his last.
Oh yeah,
reading
awake for days at a time. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. The other one I totally forgot about. Hold on one second. Was the other biggest heel turn that we haven't talked about? This is Bruce's era, right here. The Hogan NWO. That was huge. Come on, we didn't even talk about that. Hogan, everyone thought Hogan was going to come out and help Macho Man and all that stuff, and he ends up giving him the big leg drop, and boom, Eric Bischoff turned Hulk Hogan heel, and it turned into like the NWO was born. And my God, what a call that was to make that for that to take place.
So
did you guys
can
agree?
Can you really call that a heel turn? Because the NWO was probably one of the most popular factions ever. And I don't think many people were booing Hogan.
Cool heel turn.
Well,
they would that night, yes, but after that, no.
They were doing something that night because that ring was littered with nothing but
that night they were pissed.
That's so true.
Like,
hopefully Mean Gene got combat.
Mean Gene was telling them to stop doing it. Please stop. Yeah.
But then the fans realized all of a sudden we got 3 cool heels, and it became cool to be an NWO member. And that shirt, outside of Stone Cold's 316, that's probably the second best-selling shirt ever.
Roger F got a good Roger F has a great joke in the chat. The doctor told me I had 2 years to live, and I said, Doc, I can't pay you in that time, so he gave me 2 more years.
I love that joke.
Nice.
Good one, Roger.
Yeah.
Thanks for chiming in.
Good one. Yeah, thank you. So awesome. we would be journalistically remiss, though. I think, in my opinion, this was the biggest heel turn in the history of wrestling.
Okay.
And that was the Montreal Screwjob, which led to the creation of Mr. McMahon.
Right. But we didn't know that at that time. It was all centered on Bret Hart leaving and all that. And then we got the interview, Bret Screwed Bret. I think we learned, I would say a week or two later, that, okay, Vince is getting a lot of TV time. It's centered around Vince now because the Bret Hart thing kind of faded. He was in WCW. And then, we did, like Benny said, we did get the Mr. McMahon character. But don't you feel like we didn't know it at that time? We still thinking that Vince was the boss of WWE.
No, the night of. You kind of thought, you almost thought Vince was the victim there, but yeah.
I mean, I was shocked.
The Canadian fans they're more smart marks than the American fans were at that point.
Yeah. And I think we've come to learn that it was a work. It was a major work because they did it in Canada. They knew that Bret was leaving. We know now that it was the screw job was a work, even though they made it look like it wasn't a work. I mean, the talk now is they knew. You had cameras in the locker room watching them talk. I don't know if everybody's seen those videos of
behind
did you know what was going on? Bret and Sean was like, I had no idea. You know what I mean? So
Behind the Mat was documenting it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Beyond the Mat.
Beyond the Mat. I think it was awesome to watch because if we all remember, he was out there because of what happened years before with Alundra Blaze throwing the title away. He didn't want that to happen. He had that in the back of his head. So he went out there. All his stooges were out there, Briscoe, Slaughter, everybody. And they were just circling the ring. And I'm like, what is going on? And Vince is telling them, because I think they started brawling outside the ring. Vince told them to get back in the ring so the pin could happen. the finish, and they had to get the hell out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Shawn Michaels didn't know what was going on, so he was like, I'm not going back in the ring. And Vince was yelling at him. Triple H, I think, was there too, because Triple H was in, ringside.
Yes.
It was like the weirdest moment. Player, what do you think? You remember that when that happened?
Yeah. I mean, I still to this day, like, it's just, I waffle in my head. Was it a work or was it a shoot? I still have made a determination. Every day I feel differently.
I think it's the biggest work. I think the Rock situation right now, big time work.
That's a work. Yeah, that's absolutely.
I honestly feel when Cody stepped aside and said The Rock and they hugged each other, I said that hug's gonna come back to that hug will be shown after WrestleMania as when it went down. I
want to point out something last week on SmackDown. Speaking of noticing things, and I don't know if you guys did, or I don't know that anyone said this, but last week at the end, when the Bloodline held up their fingers and hands in acknowledgement, right? One thing was different.
Yep.
The Rock had his thumb out, and I said that to Mike too. Yep. The Rock had his thumb out.
Yeah. What was with that?
I don't know whether he's pointing to himself as far as being the chief.
Yeah.
Or doing a loser to Roman. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
But it was something. So
I know you don't. Yeah, I know you're not on Facebook, Phil, but I put that out at like 6 a.m. the next day.
Oh, did you?
I noticed it right away. I know the dirt sheets noticed it, but I'm like,
did they?
It's the signs. He put it up for a reason like that.
It was not an accident. There was a reason for it, for sure.
Yeah.
And I honestly think tomorrow. What are we? 9 hours away. I'll be up watching Elimination Chamber. I think The Rock will be there. I honestly think
I do too. Oh,
you're not going all the way to Australia on the road to WrestleMania and not have The Rock and Roman Reigns. I think Roman Reigns might be there as well, because you're not having the stupid Grayson Waller effect, but Rhodes and Rollins without something happening.
Well, we were promised surprises, right? And
yes,
I have to believe we're not going to really see many surprises in the actual in-ring action.
Yeah.
I think the surprises are going to be what happens outside the ring.
Yeah, Undertaker's there. We all saw that video. So that, and I don't know if anybody did see. Bruce, did you see the video of the Undertaker getting out of the airport?
No, I saw a picture of him standing with Triple H and Randy Orton.
Yeah, they got a video of him and I think it's oh God, I forget who it was. They're going to get their luggage. He looks in phenomenal shape. He looks really, really good. And I think that's one of the surprises for Australia. And I honestly think if this goes well for The Undertaker, something's happened at WrestleMania. So it's,
bringing in The Undertaker to appease the casual fan again.
Oh, yeah.
At WWE, this is where, as good as WWE is where the premium live events to me are kind of lacking. They're not for the wrestling fan anymore. They're for the casual fan. And the week-to-week wrestling is just right now, it's good and it's well written, but it's just leading up to these premium live events. How many of these matches are going to have a sponsor to them?
Yeah. My big thing is, of course, I'm going to, just to let everybody know, I'm going live after the event. Most likely now, if they have a press event, I'll go live after the press event with that. Real quickly, does anybody think that some reporter over in Australia, or if some of the other guys are flying over, do you think they're going to bring up the lawsuit or the Ashley Mazzaro incident?
Zero chance.
Right, I'm with you, Bruce. Zero, right?
Yeah, you don't think anybody over there is going to mention to Triple H? Oh, were you aware that your wife was in the room when Ashley Mazzaro was telling her story? And all? I mean,
not a chance. They've been so careful on the Australian media this past, since they've been there. If anything slightly controversial would have come out, it would have already been out.
Yeah,
they've already done the talk show circuit. We know that those press boards are all fake anyway. So
the whole Grayson Waller thing with the journalist there, who said something, the illusion that wrestling was fake or something, and Grayson Waller was indignant, ready to fight, and all that. I think that's the extent of the press controversy we're going to see down there.
Austin Theory had a issue with a journalist over there.
That's what I meant, Austin Theory, not Grayson Waller. It was Austin Theory.
I think he was with Grayson Waller. I think Grayson was there as well.
Yeah.
They had to be separated and stuff like that. So I just think that's it. Playa, I know we're running out of time here, but we're pretty much out of time. So real quickly, any thoughts? One thing that you think might happen in Perth, Australia tomorrow or later tonight?
Well, yeah. Actually, in 7 hours, I think?
Yeah, I'll be up. I don't think I'm going to bed.
Oh, come on, Joe. I get up that early and I always go to bed.
No, I am up that early, so.
I know you are.
That's a tough one. I mean, I think the matches, we talked about on the 30, what we thought was going to happen. I don't think the card itself is going to really have any surprises. I think we're going to be able to easily pick out that, it's Becky Lynch. It's
just give me one moment right now, real quickly. What do you think?
I know one thing.
One thing. I don't.
Anything.
A giant kangaroo's going to hop down into the ring, and Stone Cold's going to come out of the pouch with a Foster's beer, crack it open, and
with a run-in by the gobbledygooker.
Yeah. Now, there you go. Yeah.
Something with I'm going to say something with the Undertaker. I don't know what.
Phil, what do you think? One thing that's going to happen tomorrow night.
I keep thinking there's going to be a kangaroo involved, but maybe not. But I do think Stone Cold could very well make an appearance.
You think Stone Cold's secretly over there right now?
Yeah, I don't know that he's ever been down there on pay-per-view. And,
I don't know.
Much like the Saudi audience, I'm sure the Australian audience craves, some superstars of the past, some of these larger-than-life names. So, yeah, why not? I think it's going to be a big deal. I do.
Bruce, what do you got? One moment you think is going to happen this morning?
How about a special promo from Brock Lesnar?
Really? Come on, be serious. No. You think that's going to happen?
No. I think his days are numbered. Honestly, I think we've discussed a lot of. I don't think there's going to be any major surprises. If it's going to be a surprise, it's going to be something with the Rock and Roman angle. That's what I think. Outside of that, there's really not. You can't bring anybody in. There's not that hot free agent right now. Yeah. Maybe Alexa Bliss come back.
Oh, there you go. No, that's good. I can see it. Raquel Gonzalez gets hurt flying over and can't make it. Because she had that crazy skin disease or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe something like my surprises. I think definitely The Rock and Roman Reigns are there. I don't think you go 20 hours. You fly 20 hours for a premium live event. What are we 6-7 weeks? Not even that now. To March got 31 days. Yeah, I'll say 5 weeks away from WrestleMania. X amount of shows to promote this. They're all the way down in Australia, and the card is very bleak if you ask me. When you look at it, I know they got the chamber matches. They had to throw in a pre-show match. Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae are now going to fight the Kabuki Warriors for the tag titles on the pre-show. So there's one match they had to add. Will they add another one? I don't know, but I honestly feel you don't do this to the Australian crowd. Have this Grayson Waller effect with the main characters, so to speak, Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins there, without some type of major surprise. And don't give me John Cena. That's one thing I'm afraid of. No. Don't give me this. I don't want to be up at 4 a.m. to see this.
Maybe his dad pitching his Johnny Fabo hot sauce.
Yeah, Johnny Fab. John Cena's
barbecued ribs.
That's like a tongue twister.
For an international card, does this not seem like a little bit like kind of thrown together and kind of missing something?
It's very short. I think the card is short because the highlight is going to be the chamber, because the winner fights Rollins and all that thing for the men's. And the women's, I think that's where we're going to see the craziness. Yeah, everyone's predicting Becky Lynch, but you throw Lynch out there. This Nia Jax match with Rhea Ripley, she's not losing the title in Australia. If she does, I'm going to be totally shocked. But I think
I didn't realize Nia's also from Australia. So
really,
yeah,
no, sir. Nia Jax.
She was born in Australia. I was very surprised to find out
that she's Samoan.
Okay.
So that's an interesting angle, Bruce. That's a very interesting angle, man.
Like I said on the 30, I see a disqualification, something like that, where it just, you're going to get the 3-way at Mania or another match on TV that says, okay, we're going to fight Rhea Ripley. But I feel a 3-way coming if Becky Lynch wins the chamber. I would love to see an upset over there, like Liv Morgan. She's, all of a sudden she's all over the place talking about 2024 is going to be my year. You're getting that vibe where they're dropping hints of Liv Morgan here. I don't know if it's on purpose or whatever, but that'd be a great upset. Something like that.
Liv Morgan is very, very crossover. She's very involved in all kinds of podcasts and TV shows and stuff like that. So she's got that crossover appeal.
Yeah. I feel something like that might have. But like I said, my big thing is going to be The Rock showing up. Maybe Roman Reigns, but I'd love to see both. I see how you cannot have both if The Rock shows up. And he put that tweet out the other day, that comment, if they mention my name or talk smack, I'm going to come down there and smack them.
Yeah.
So that's a hint that he's down there. He's probably flying right now. He's probably going to get in there on a secret shuttle bus and all that stuff. They'll hide them until it's time. And I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, because I think the card is very weak. And it's also what it will also determine this. I don't mean to be talking so much. What it also will determine is where they place the Grayson Waller effect, first, middle, last on the card, because that will have a lot to do with the chamber. So if we get Grayson Waller effect before the men's chamber and all the hoopla that surrounds that, something's going to happen in the chamber match. Whether The Rock destroys somebody in there or Roman Reigns stops somebody from winning, something. But if the Grayson Waller effect is last, then we're going to get, a Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins confrontation with The Rock and Roman Reigns to possibly set up the tag match on the first night of WrestleMania. What do you guys think real quick?
As far as surprise appearances and other people showing up, I'm trying to look right now, and I never thought to look to see where Raw is emanating from this week. Are they back in the States? Are they down there?
That's a good point.
Because that could really determine how many more people we're going to see,
Let me look that up right there. I'll find out. You go ahead. Keep going.
But my thought is
back in the States, though, and I think that's probably why they have so few people out there.
Okay. All right. That's interesting too. Yeah. Very interesting. So maybe we won't see everybody, maybe we won't see Roman after all.
Raw is at the San Jose. They're back in California Monday.
Okay. All
so
right.
that's
that makes
Monday
sense because they can fly into they can fly right in at least somewhat local.
Well, they got a meet and greet in San Jose at 9 a.m. So they're getting off the plane and doing something, or it's going to be somebody else. You know what I mean? But the Monday Night Raw, San Jose, California, at the SAP Center for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
how far is Australia from like LAX?
Yeah. So I predict a quick press conference presser after that. I mean, the presser is usually to highlight what happened in the chamber. It'll be Rhea Ripley, her title thing. You'll get 2 or 3, and I'm sure whatever happens on the Grayson Waller effect, maybe The Rock will show up. But they're half that crew's probably jumping on a plane heading back to Raw in San Jose, where they'll literally probably get off the plane, and that's that. So,
well, I predict we won't hear about any bad behavior on the flight back. There won't be a plane ride from hell part 2 or anything like that. I think everyone's learned from their mistakes.
No Woo energy drinks.
Nope. No, they will not fit a helicopter on the airplane, I don't think.
Yeah. I'm sure I'm looking at the middle of a conversation, but Joe Myers chimes in and says, Chris Jericho crashes the stage playing Didgeridoo. Didgeridoo. I don't know. Is that a song?
No, that's an instrument.
Okay, so
that's an Australian Aboriginal instrument.
Big long.
What is it? A didgeridoo?
Didgeridoo.
There's like a hole, and you like hum through it, and
it's something that's the Aboriginals I think play, and so yeah. Well, Jericho is on tour, so she might be right.
That's right. You're on the list.
You're on the list.
You're on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin Owens and the turn Kevin Owens. I looked that up too, with him and Chris Jericho. That was classic.
That was great
because he was doing "This Is Your Life" segment or something like that with Kevin Owens. And
yeah,
my God, unbelievable! All right, folks. So it looks like we went over our time limit here.
We never do that.
Quick go around. What's everybody got going on here? Benny, what's happening with you this week?
Well, we're going to take a break from True Crime this week. We're going to come back the next Monday and do an episode about Son of Sam.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, I have an interview with Dan and Benny in the Ring, with Renee Koloff, who is the widow of Ivan Koloff. So nice. I think that'll be very interesting.
That's
and then,
awesome.
Of course, we have our the 30 and Wrestling Remembers. We're busy guys.
So the Renee Koloff, you're going to ask her about the Hall of Fame? Should he be in the Hall of Fame?
That is one of the questions. Absolutely.
Nice.
Huge snub. Can't understand that one either.
The president/champion of Thursday night, Phil DeCesare. What do you got going on this week? Anything?
I'm up early, working tomorrow, the regular job. I'm hoping to be able to check in with you guys, maybe with the show. We also have an independent show tomorrow night up here. I actually interviewed the promoter of the show, the president of Lucky Pro Wrestling, on the radio this morning. So I may attend a few matches.
What do you got? What do you got for a main event in that one up there? Who's playing?
These are guys you probably don't know. There's a guy named Anthony Green who's been up to NXT before in a few places. Andrew Anderson, who I guess
the Punisher
was on Monty and the Pharaoh before.
Yeah,
I used to see Beefcake.
And I understand he's going to be there, bringing a special guest from ECW who remains unnamed at this point. So they're having their annual lethal lottery, which is basically like a Royal Rumble to determine lethal lottery to determine who will face a champion. It can be any one of the titles in Lucky Pro Wrestling. So the winner gets a shot. So good local, New England wrestling. And again, they've launched a few careers too.
I used to do some big time wrestling. I used to be a ring announcer down there. So
sure.
Fala Bob versus Andrew Anderson was a huge match. I did an introduction for.
Nice.
So when I worked for Extreme Pro Wrestling back down in Fall River area and all that stuff. Yeah. So
Andrew Anderson's the guy.
Teddy. What's his name? Teddy. Oh God. Teddy. I figured he was a champion. Teddy Goods.
Okay.
Teddy Goods. I don't know if you know him.
I don't know Teddy.
A lot of big guys were down there making their way. Teddy Goods was actually on Raw one night when they were at the Garden.
Oh, cool.
He played one of those security guys that just stood there. There were like 20 of them.
Yeah.
I think it was from Brock Lesnar too. He
probably took an F5.
He got his face on TV like MJF did when I think MJF was even there. He was one of the guys, small time stuff. But
it's good stuff. It's really good stuff.
All right, so I got to go over to the most crooked referee in the world here.
Not this week. He was right on his game, baby.
That was the wealthiest.
Somebody wants to start off in negative points this week, but I won't say who.
A lot of money was lost in Vegas on that one. Everyone thought Dan had the 3 count, but
Dan was a lock until I picked the lock.
Dan had the 3 count. Phil kicked out, and Phil got him in the small package, and there was a bang.
And there is absolutely nothing saying that I cannot bet on Vegas odds.
Bruce, what do you got going on?
All right. So first of all, tomorrow morning you're going to be doing a recap.
Yeah, I'll be going live.
When the rest of the world gets up, we're going to do another live recap, which is going to give a little bit different perspective. We'll know a little bit more what happened behind the scenes at that point. Maybe some injury reports. Hopefully not, but you never know what's going to happen with these things. And I think a little bit more will be revealed by later tomorrow afternoon, early evening, and hopefully the player is going to jump on there with me, and hopefully maybe Jimmy Farrow himself. Then, of course, Thursday night we have the best pro wrestling game show out there, the number one, and it's hosted by none other than me. Yeah, and I've got this great panel of wrestling experts that come along and answer my questions. And currently, the champion of the 30 is Mr. President Phil DeCesare.
That's it.
Thank you very much.
And then, I got to tell you. Go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, no, of course. Right after that, we have the Monty and the Pharaoh show at 9 p.m. And
the main event.
I'm not sure who they have this week, but I know they have a couple special guests coming up.
Yep. They'll probably make fun of me with my Francine moves and all that stuff. So from my interview with her, they made fun of me last week. It was kind of funny because I did a podcast with Francine, who was told by a WWE higher up to oil up her chest and go see Vince McMahon to get noticed and all that stuff. So they played that from 2001, and all they could look at was my face and my disgusted look and all that stuff. And
righteous indignation.
They thought I went to
Welcome
acting
to the family,
class.
Joe. Welcome to the family.
Yep.
You look like Vince McMahon when he used to talk to the Grand Wizard, and Vince would be disgusted by the wizard. He would make those looks.
I had my glasses. I was very green back then, interviewing everybody. But she dropped that on my lap, and I'll be honest, and I know we're live, but off the record, off the record, when I interviewed Maria Kanellis as well, that was a great interview. She had a lot to say about the WWE and how they treat people. But off the record, I can't share this on the record, but off the record, she did tell me about some questionable behaviors of higher ups, including Vince McMahon. So I would not be surprised if she was part of a class action lawsuit that's going on right now. I know I mentioned this on my show the other night, but there's a law firm out of Chicago that is asking people who were victims of sexual harassment or assault in the WWE, and they also put UFC on there on this. So they have a website called WWEsettlements.com. It goes to this Pullins and somebody law firm in Chicago, and I was on it playing around on it, and the next day you couldn't get on it. Like their site crashed. The error message, because I know a little bit about IT, this server was down. So they got hammered most likely with people looking to tell their story and all that. And matter of fact, I called them as well just to inquire about the website, and they were very quick to call me back and so forth. So they are they're probably getting a lot of people to come forward that happened. But I was shocked that UFC was listed on there. I'm not sure what that was all about, but you can check it out, WWEsettlements.com. So we got to keep.
Friends that are lawyers can answer that for you, and it's you go after you throw the biggest lasso out you can, and then you slowly bring it back in.
Yep. No, I hear you, and there's going to be a lot. This is only the beginning, and still no update on the lawsuit. I was looking into. I got a couple of legal friends. I was looking into this lawsuit with Janelle Grant real quick, and a lot can happen. Obviously, no court date has been set. Obviously, the other side has to file their motions. Et cetera. It could be months and so forth. But like everybody in the legal field said, most likely this will be settled out of court, whether it's money or whether she gets out of the NDA. She's not looking for money, as we all know. She just wants out of the NDA. But most legal experts predict this thing will be settled out of court. They don't want to have that stuff to go forward, because if they do go to trial, or anything like that, secrets are going to get out. Things are going to be said. So I don't think anybody in the WWE TKO endeavor wants that negative press. So I think that, that's the logic behind that. And Billy Jack Haynes remains hospitalized. We're checking that. I've been on the Portland Police Escapade website. As you can tell, they're really good. I've actually called the detective that's in charge, and he is still hospitalized. I'm thinking now it's that 30-day thing where he's in a lockdown facility for 30 days, and that's going to happen. They'll get by the way, he hasn't been formally charged with murder. I don't know if you guys knew that. He has not been formally charged with murder. He's only right now alleged. They know it's him. They have to arrest him and then charge him. But they can't do that until he's released from the hospital. So, take your pick.
I think we have a little more information on that, but I don't know if we're allowed to talk about it yet.
What's that?
With his daughter, with that stuff that came through.
Billy Jack Haynes' daughter?
Yeah. Oh, no, her daughter.
Oh, Judy?
His stepdaughter.
Yeah, she took her Facebook down. I know that.
I know that there's some information forthcoming.
Judy
not sure if it's public yet.
Yeah. And her I think it's her cousin, Sue Beecraft. She has a lot to say about this. I actually made contact with her, and they do want to tell their story when the time is right, because there is another side of all this. We all know.
Yeah, that's why I want to be very careful, because I did learn. I'm just not sure if it's what's public and what's not yet.
Yep. I know if you go on Sue Beecraft's Facebook, she's keeping it up on purpose. If you read the comments in there, you could pretty tell that stuff was going on within the family. Things were said. There's a history of domestic abuse, all that stuff. So, it's a family thing. It's out there on Facebook. I know the daughter had her Facebook. She had a tribute to her mother on there, and she even said at the time she was getting inundated by press, and she was sick of everybody turning Billy Jack Haynes into this, larger than life character. Because as we all know, it's usually the person who did the crime that gets more press than the person that was the victim in this case. So, yeah, we'll Money in the Barrel.
The victim gets forgotten in many cases.
Yeah. And they want to tell their side of the story, and they'll eventually will. But he needs to be charged first. I think the detectives are telling them to lay low for a while, even though Sue still has her Facebook up. So, that it is what it is. It could be any day, they said, but honestly, I think he's in, what's it been, 3 weeks now? Almost a month, right?
Yeah.
The 25th will be a month. So I would look for some action in the next few days. They might even do it under the radar because the press is really on this. I know around here they're not, but Portland press, I've talked to some people up there, KOIN people, they're on it. They're looking out. When he gets out of the hospital, they'll have to transport him to a jail and arraign him and so forth. So it's going to be interesting when that happens. What kind of video comes out with it? It's going to be something. It's going to be a big deal in Portland. It's already a big deal up there. So I know around here it's not, but it is up there. But all right, way over. I'm going to say goodbye now because I got to get up in about 6 hours to watch a premium live event over on Australia.
Pay-per-view.
Oh, yeah, pay-per-view, right? Yeah.
We're all dogs around here.
I think we will end up back in some type of pay-per-view model within no time.
I remember you saying that, Bruce, and I have to think that could be pretty likely, man.
And from microtransactions to macro.
And you also got to remember that my shitter's clogged. Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck, and man, good luck to everything. You've had a hellacious.
It's actually fixed now. It's the cleanup that I have to do. That's going to be. Yeah, we got some sludge down there and so forth.
That's a shitty job.
It is a shitty job. Yeah.
Don't call Vince.
No. So it's going to be one. Yeah. That was my day today, setting up for the show and doing this. I feel like this is a full-time job. I mean, between being on True Crime, Wednesday night, my show, the 30 on Thursday, Wrestling Remembered on Saturday, and now I got the pay-per-view after. This is a full-time job, right?
Well, it's so funny. Last night we were on from 7:30 till like 11:30, Bruce, and then and then I was up in the morning doing the thing too. So I sound a little hoarse because
we got off the live broadcast. It was like 10:15.
Yeah, we talked till about 11:30. Yeah.
Wow, you guys are good.
We are a hard-working crew, though. I got to say that.
Well, just to let everybody know in the chat, thank you.
Yes, thank you all.
We wouldn't be here without you guys. Don't forget to tell your friends about Monty and the Pharaoh and hit that like button. Even subscribe. I mean, how much is it, Bruce, a month? What is it?
It's $10 a month for membership, and if you want any autographs from anybody who comes through, or even previous guests, we have stuff out there for you guys, and we also can do private events for you, private chats. We have members only videos. There's lots of benefits, and hopefully this year we're going to be coming out with a lot more. But the most important thing is it allows us to keep going, keep the studio up, stuff like that. And we appreciate all you guys out there, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, we have merchandise as well. We got the Monty and the Pharaoh stuff. And
I've been working on some to 30 merchandise that hopefully we can debut. I mean, I want to do it in limited quantities just because obviously it gets expensive to get stuff. So we're gonna try to do limited numbers of stuff, and then we're gonna have some more T-shirts coming out. We got a lot of little stuff in the works. We got some new shows coming up.
Yeah, Maria Davis.
It should be a fun year. One of the things I really want to work on that I'm working on is I want to do some type of little figurines. These 3D printing has gotten less and less expensive, and how cool would it be to have your own the 30 referee?
Right. Maria Davis says Seth freaking Rollins will win his match. What match is that though? That's the question. That's the big question.
Maybe with Becky in a hotel room.
No. He's a father now. Come on.
She wears the pants.
There you go.
Right. She's the man.
She is.
Yep, there you go. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. Way over the time limit, but whatever. We do what we do here. No rules. Yeah. You know that. Thank you, Bruce, the player, Phil DeCesare, for joining us. You guys are great, as always.
Right back at you.
Real quickly, I will be on right after the premium live event ends. It'll be after the press event that happens afterwards. So actually, maybe I'll put the press event on while I'm on live here, because I really don't think anything's going to happen with that, unless there is a monumental shift in the road to WrestleMania. But either way, I will be on after the premium live event. I'm getting up early. East Coast people, it's 1 hour before for me. So what happens at 5 a.m., I'll be up at 4 a.m. now. So actually 3 a.m. for the pre-show, because now there's a tag team title match. So, hey, it is what it is. But this is what we do for the fans, right?
Sacrifice.
We're going to entertain the fans.
We are here for you.
So when you're having your Sunday breakfast, your brunch, your mimosas, and all that stuff, join me. The conversation, I will be sending everybody a link in my crew here if you want to pop on real quick.
Saturday. Well, actually, it is Sunday
morning. Sunday morning. Excuse me. I'm already thinking about tomorrow. So
I like the mimosa thing. Though. That sounds pretty
Sunday,
good.
It's going to be Sunday in Australia. You're okay.
Okay, good. So I'm going to be on Australian time. So I'll be on there tomorrow morning. Join me. Maybe I'll be in my pajamas. Who knows? Maybe I'll buy us some pajamas real quick and spruce up. What do you think?
So you're going to go from what a day to g'day?
G'day.
Maybe?
Ooh, yeah, I like that.
What a g'day.
Joe
What a g'day.
Oh, what a good day, mate.
Good day, mate. Yep. My name is Joey. Joey the Kangaroo.
Yeah, Joey, yeah.
There you go. All right, guys, thank you so much for all your time and your expertise. And, the only thing I can say is I'm Joe Lowry. Good day.
That's not a knife. This is a knife.
All right, guys, take care.
See ya.
Folks.